Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you all. Welcome to our fall stakeholders meeting. It's my pleasure to give you an update on the state of the foundation. Throughout the year, we have held 3 other stakeholder meetings with a different theme because this year is, as many of you know, our 25th anniversary. So we have focused one call on our support efforts, one on our education efforts, and one on our research efforts. So this fall, I really want to focus fresh on the heels of our strategic planning retreat with our leadership from across the country on our vision for the future and share a sneak peek of where we're headed with all of you, our nearest and dearest. As always, we love to start with our mission. This is really what we keep at the front and center of everything we do. You all know this well, but our mission and the reason we were created 25 years ago is to advance medical research, promote disease awareness, and provide support and education to people living with scleroderma, their families, and support networks. And we are grateful to each and every one of you for helping us to achieve this mission. Now, these are our 3 mission pillars, which of course should sound familiar and echoed in that powerful mission statement, and really the way that we deliver on that promise to you, whether it's through programming at the national level or through one of our 13 chapters across the country. We are focusing our education to people living with the disease, to providers so that they can look for signs and symptoms earlier. We are looking at providing support peer-to-peer, and many of you on the call help us facilitate and lead those groups so that someone who may be newly diagnosed can get plugged in with a group and really learn from their peers how best to cope and even thrive with scleroderma. And then, of course, our peer-reviewed research program is very special, and it's purely investigator-initiated peer-reviewed research program. We actually just got our applications in last month for this next round of grants, and really excited to see what comes through that peer review process this year. I mentioned that one of the ways that we deliver on our mission programming is through our 13 chapters. So if you weren't aware or didn't get the announcement in July, we realigned all of our chapters to make sure that we had coverage from coast to coast and border to border. In the past, we had states that had no chapter and had no representation. And so the board made a commitment to have a footprint and a presence in every state in the union, as well as the territory of Puerto Rico. So we are so thrilled to be able to roll this out. We've seen great traction and pickup from members of our community in every state so far. And as I mentioned just a couple of weeks ago, we got together in New Orleans with all of our chapter leadership and volunteers, as well as our national volunteers and leadership as well. And it was wonderful to see so many new faces, and then those whose shoulders we stand on, who really built this organization, and being able to exchange ideas and thoughts and wisdom. Just a really, really promising look at what's ahead for the foundation. So I hope that if you're new to us, you'll find your chapter, that you'll get engaged. You can go to scleroderma.org/chapter to find your chapter, or email us info@scleroderma.org, and we are always happy to connect you. Our goal is just to help you find your best path and connect you with the resources that are most helpful to you. So I mentioned that we got our leadership together. We started thinking about our framework for 2024 and beyond. One of the things we've been really sensitive to is that our last strategic plan, that was 2020 through 2022, was a 3-year, really ambitious, very capacity building, organization focused plan. It led a lot of change and was, again, very ambitious. Helped us align our governance and our operations. Something else happened in the middle of that plan that everyone has experienced, and that was the pandemic. And so in 23, we really looked at having a flexible framework. And so we did create something for this year, and then we're looking to expand that for 2024 and beyond. So our leadership has been just terrific and engaged throughout the year to really help us create this framework that we think can scale up and scale back, be flexible in the scale and scope, depending on what's happening in the environment, because we aren't sure what could happen in the future. There's a lot going on in the world around us. It changes every day. Our hope is that we'll be able to scale up and scope up. But as things happen and trends change in the environment, we'll be able to be nimble and change and have a broad enough framework that we know our mission remains unchanged. And these are the areas we want to focus in to really be best in class and to be able to serve you as best we can. So as we approached this strategic framework planning process, we really considered who our stakeholders were, and that's all of you here on the call today, but we really narrowed it down in terms of really finite definitions of what we lovingly refer to as our 6 Ps. And so when you look at where that starts in the innermost circle, it's of course people living with scleroderma. That's who we're here for, that's who we serve, that's why you're all here, right? Whether it's you yourself who've been diagnosed or a loved one, a friend, coworker, that's the center of our universe, and that remains unchanged. From there, we really looked at who are our champions, our patrons, our volunteers, leadership, staff, providers, the ones giving care to people living with, our pursuers, those doing academic investigation and clinical trials to look at the next therapies, treatments, non-pharmacological interventions for people living with the disease. And then, of course, our partners that we're so grateful for, whether it's pharma, biotech, or our federal partners at NIH, FDA, CMS. And then finally, our broadest universe, our philanthropists. Again, individuals, corporations, foundations, everyone who gives to this meaningful cause to advance the mission work that we do, no matter what their motivation. That's kind of the outer rung. The broadest net that we cast is to that philanthropy network. And one of our goals, as you'll see, is to build that culture of philanthropy within scleroderma and within our community. So when we went to our stakeholders and we asked, what do you feel like we do really well? What are our strengths? What are some of our challenges? You'll see that there were some key themes that emerged in terms of our strengths. Really felt like, healthcare and patient advocacy were right out front. Leadership and communication are leading strengths. And then closely followed by marketing and outreach, and then our scientific and medical support. And we're so grateful to our leadership who does that for us. In terms of challenges, patient engagement in clinical trials remains a challenge in an area that we're very interested in serving our population. Our organizational challenges and restructuring over the last couple of years is a challenge. There may be confusion related to that. Communication and awareness, making sure that people know what scleroderma is and that we're communicating that effectively, as well as the impact of the work that we do. And then, of course, fundraising challenges. How are we going to fund the work that we do and scale that up, as I mentioned? We also asked what are best-in-class characteristics that we should aspire to. And again, that communication and collaboration is right out front, which we're really happy to see because it's really what I think led the discussion with a lot of our leadership as well. Some key themes here that I don't think are surprising to you all, but keeping that patient-centric approach, building our advocacy and outreach, really focusing on research and innovation. And then, of course, again, building those financial resources, making sure that we can fund the important work that we do. Just thought it was interesting, again, among that group of stakeholders that we talked to and surveyed, to look at the uptake in terms of the programming that people are participating in. And you can see pretty evenly split between support groups, our educational webinars, and then, of course, our national conference. So really pleased to see great broad participation there, followed really closely by our Stepping Out walks, which we know are a great awareness tool. Really looking forward to our 2024 series, had a great year this year. And then getting into our chapter educational conferences as well that have made a really great move back into in-person and hybrid this year. So really excited to see that take off. And we'll continue to track this, but just thought this was really terrific. Again, a lot of you out there in the field leading this work for us. So really encouraging to see that these are high value programs for our stakeholders. We asked what we do well. We want to, if there's something that maybe we shouldn't be as focused on. So information and education came out front and center, information for people living with disease information, education for patients, for physicians, support and community building. And that's all of you doing that and reaching out and building those relationships, and then effective communication. In terms of advocacy and fundraising and keeping that patient-centric approach, those brought up the rear of what we do well in terms of mentions. When we asked what we could improve, this was interesting because it was also one of our strengths and what we do well, but it can always be improved. Our medical information and the support that we provide. It's a lot to weed through. We want to make sure it's always the most up to date. We want to make sure it's user-friendly and organized really well. We can always enhance our education, and then we know awareness is a huge obstacle that we need to overcome. Again, keeping patient-centric approach, research and clinical trials, it's more to navigate than ever before, which is really, really exciting, but it does present a challenge, and it's something that we need to really take the lead in. And then communication and outreach. So we took all of that information. Again, you saw the timeline throughout the year, got leadership together in different groups to really get at what we want our vision for the future to be. And it boiled down to these 6 areas. The leadership of the foundation is putting it out there that we want to become a highly collaborative organization. We know that we may not be, front and center out there making things happen on the Hill. And so are there organizations that we need to be collaborating with that we're not, in terms of advocacy, in terms of awareness? What are those partnerships that are going to leverage, that we can leverage to really advance our mission in a more meaningful way? How can we facilitate clear and open communications within our community across all of those stakeholder groups that you saw? That's really important to us. We want to have, trusted information, which goes to the next point of really developing our reputation as that trusted source, the place you go for scleroderma information. We have all of the experts here with us, vetting our information, making sure that it's up to date, that it's accurate, and that it's what we want to be putting out under our banner. And then we really want to be thoughtful about the community that we create. We want it to be a diverse and unified community. We want to welcome people in, and we want to be thoughtful about everyone feeling open to express who they authentically are in community with the foundation. And innovation was a key theme that I'm sure you saw throughout. We want to embody innovation as a foundation. We want to make sure that everything we do, we're thinking about how we can be as innovative as possible in order to serve you as best we can. And then finally, what keeps all of this going is that culture of philanthropy and people getting that joy of giving back. And again, that wide net that we're casting to the philanthropic community to really help fuel our mission and see all of these things become more and more fruitful over a period of time. So you'll continue to see this as the board fleshes out each of these areas with concrete goals, strategies, metrics, and you'll get lots of updates all throughout next year. But wanted to share just a sneak peek of the direction that we're headed. Hopefully none of this is a surprise. These are themes that we've been kind of circling around, I think, for the last couple of years, but it was great to see leadership come together around these and really start to put pen to paper on it. So we're really excited to move this work forward. So in terms of the fall stakeholder update, that's what I have for you. I wanted to share that vision and cast that vision. And again, we'll continue to update you as we get further into the new year and have that plan approved by the board. But as always, want to thank you, each and every one of you, for being here, for being a part of the community, for fostering these relationships and supporting one another. You're the reason we're here. We wouldn't be here without you. And I want you to know and hear that gratitude for everything that you do. The reason we're here is because we don't know what causes this disease and there is no cure, but with your support and with your help, and as we all work together, we hope we'll get closer to our vision of being a relentless force and finding a cure. So thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to put up my contact information. I'm always happy to take questions. And of course, we're going to ask our members to stay behind. We're going to have a meet and greet for our champion members as well. So if you'll hang out, that'll be awesome.